Hello and welcome to Hug in the Snug, where today we're talking about energy efficient lighting, and I'm here with Steve Edwards, who is an LED lighting consultant. It's called Hug in the Snug, so we have to start with a hug. Okay. You ready? I think that's how everything should start. So I've bought a prop. You've got one too. Yes. What's mine and what's yours?
Okay, yours is what they call a compact fluorescent. Which is traditionally what you can buy in a lot of hardware stores like B&Q or the likes. So this here is based on fluorescent technology. And essentially, inside is a little curly tube where they essentially they suck out the air and put in some things which are not particularly pleasant. Electrically charge the end, and it causes electrons to race around. That in turn emits a glow in the form of ultraviolet light, and then they put phosphors on to blend the ultraviolet into a visible spectrum, and hence you have a lit bulb.
And why is mine called energy efficient and normal bulbs that we used to have before aren't? What's the difference between those two?
Well, this is 11 watts, so this consumes 11 watts of power, whereas the normal incandescent bulbs, which are being phased out, those use a completely different principle of generating light. They generate light through electrical resistance. So 80% of the energy used in an incandescent bulb is emitted as heat, and 20% is light, so they're extremely inefficient in terms of the amount of power they consume. So this would be the equivalent of probably about a 40-watt bulb, I'd have thought, in terms of light output.
So this has gone from a 40-watt bulb to an 11-watt bulb for the same amount of light that you get? Okay.
So the light emission from one of these is quite poor, really, in all.
So 40 watts is quite dim, actually, because normal ones are sort of
shall I plug in the cherry?
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, a lot of people sort of experience this issue with compact fluorescents. They're energy efficient, but they're not very good at lighting. So if I just pop them off first of all. When you first turn them on, they take a little while to warm up. This one's quite quick.
I mean, my ones at home, I have to walk around blindly for 5 minutes before I can see anything.
Before they warm up. And then you get a reasonable glow from it. But if you sort of shine a glow at the bookcase behind, you can see that you're getting a sort of like a reasonable spread of light. But in time, the light output reduces on these lamps because it starts to coat up on the inside of the sphere with the particles that are inside it. The light starts to diminish. So although they might rate this lamp on the packet for about sort of 2-3 years worth of rated life, the useful light coming from it will probably be about 18 months.
So after that, we'll just get dimmer and dimmer.
Dimmer. So they start dim, and they get dimmer.
And they get dimmer. All right. So what have you got, and how's that different?
What I have here, and we just sort of look at the two. The two look very, very similar. So very similar looking lamps. But the one I have here is an LED lamp. Now what this uses LED technology.
And that means?
Now an LED, basically it's a diode, which is two semiconductor pieces of material passing electricity in one direction. So as a positive electron meets a negative electron inside the sandwich between the two conductor materials, you get emission of light and you get an emission of heat. But they're very, very efficient means of generating light. So probably about 80% of the energy from one of these is light, about 20% heat.
And the first light bulbs we used to have was 20% light, 80% heat. And this one's?
This is sort of around about the same as this in terms of like the heat to light output. But you're getting far less light emitted from one of these than you do from one of these.
Okay.
Now this is 7 watts.
And this was 11.
That's 11, so it's 4 watts difference. So it doesn't sound a lot, but when you're running these lamps for a long period of time, it soon mounts up. In addition, this will last you a good 3-4 years of constant use without any diminishing in the light output. So you'll have a very bright light for a long period of time. So when I say a bright light, if we pop this in here, that's the difference.
Definitely brighter.
So as you can see on the bookshelf behind now, a much more
sort of
intense
clearer,
light, much clearer light, and a much more intense light. So you have the light output from this LED would be the equivalent now of a 60-watt incandescent bulb.
So a 60-watt bulb, and that's only 7 watts.
Whereas that's probably a 40-watt equivalent for 11 watts. So the trade-off is this obviously costs less. This would probably be about £3 or £4 in a wholesaler. This would be around about £10. But the trade-off is this will last you 4 times as long.
So it costs more, but it will last longer.
Lasts longer and uses less energy.
And uses less energy and is brighter.
And is brighter. In addition, the nasty bits that are in this, predominantly it's rare gases like bromide gas, which they have to extract from the ground, which obviously ecologically is not a very good thing to keep extracting these rare materials from the ground. But also they pack mercury into these, mercury particles.
Which isn't good.
Which is not good. Now, mercury is considered in the US as the next most pollutant, worse pollutant than radiation, than uranium. So uranium's number 1, and mercury's number 2.
And that's got mercury in it?
Got
like
mercury
a tiny bit, or...?
It's got tiny particles, but if I was to break this, and it got into the water table, it would pollute 6,000 gallons of water with mercury. If I was to break this now, we'd have to leave the room for 15 minutes. That's the government guideline.
So like at school when they told me, when the old thermometers, if those got broken, we all had to evacuate the science lab. But you could easily, I mean, it's made of glass, you could drop it.
You could drop it, and also nobody has told you that. None of the packets say.
So wait, if I was being a lazy house owner and I just put it in the bin,
yep.
And that, I mean, by the time it's got outside into the bin, it's probably already broken.
Yeah. But then also if it goes to landfill, then it can pollute the ground. Which is why when you get rid of these sort of bulbs and fluorescent tubes as well, you have to put them through a formal recycling process.
But they don't really. I mean, that's not.
I've
really seen that written on the ones the hundreds I've been sent through from.
No, so it gives you poor light. It does save energy, but it gives you poor light output, and it's not a very nice bit of kit to get rid of once it's failed. This is made of plastics.
So there's nothing. Is there anything?
So you could put this
anything
into
to own up to in that one?
No. So this one here is ecologically friendly. Also, the manufacturing process that go into it, they're also the manufacturers we work with are also ecologically sound in terms of their credentials. So, you know, it's a much more greener product from cradle to grave than this one is.
And I mean, that one, it was sort of very bright, but it seemed like a nice light. I've heard people say before they don't like LEDs if they have had them because they're just really blindingly white and it's a bit cold light.
It depends. I mean, the colour temperature is what determines the coloration of the light coming off it. LEDs are naturally blue, so the light emitted from an LED is naturally in the blue spectrum. So what they do is they coat the chip with various phosphors to move it into the whiter spectrum. Now you can change the colour temperature, as they call it, of the chip by using different layers of phosphor and different gravity of phosphor. So you can have what they call a daylight white lamp, which will give you a light which is very similar to normal outside light, which is a much purer white. Or you can have this is more the cooler or the warm. This is more the warmer white in here. So this is, again, if I just quickly put it on, this is more of the a yellowy light. So this is more.
So you want this in your kind of lamps at home.
Yes. So this is very similar to what you'd get in a normal incandescent in terms of its light output. So it's a yellowy, warmer sort of coloration. And that's the beauty of LED now. LED, the chip technology has marched on tremendously. So you can actually generate much better light output than we used to be able to get 12 months ago. The coloration of the light is much more stable and much better light quality. So whereas before we used to have a slightly bluish tinge to LEDs, and that's what a lot of people remember, nowadays you can create a light which is very similar to what you get from normal light sources. Everything, all LEDs are packed with a heat dissipation device of some description on the back. This one's got a passive heat sink stuck in the back of it to pull the heat away. But essentially, you could run this for 24 hours and still undo it by bare hand.
With my hand wouldn't.
It would only be warm.
Nice. Yeah. So these, with recap, it's stronger light for less energy.
Yeah.
It lasts longer. It's not going to burn me.
No.
Why are people sending me these? Why is everyone using these if we could be using those?
I think it's price point. I think if you went into a shop and you said I could buy a lamp for £10 or a lamp for £4, people tend to err for the £4, but it's false economy. Because if you bought one of these, you're going to save that money back very quickly. And not only that, it will give you better quality light throughout your business or your house. So this is a far better prospect. And the prices are, continuing year on year come down. So next year you might be able to get these for a little bit less, but why wait? You can get them now.
So if you've got any more in your bag, I could change all my lights at home.
Indeed.
Well, I think I've got a better understanding. I think I definitely want that one rather than this one.
Yes.
And I think I'll be seeing LED lights every time I blink from now on from looking into that lamp. So thank you for coming in
You're welcome.
and making that a bit clearer for us.
Pleasure.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.